Hey, namaste. I'm Kay. This is Ecstatic Self, and today I want to share with you a little bit of art. I want to share with you one of my favorite poems that really, I think, articulates very well a connection to our inner state and a connection to our truth. So this is a poem, actually it was originally an email by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. She had gone to a party and was bored by the constant small talk and feeling like people weren't saying anything real, weren't connected to their truth. And she went home, she wrote this email out to her mailing list, and it subsequently led to book deals for her and quite a bit of internet fame at least. It's a poem called The Invitation. And it's one of my favorite things. My husband and I actually read it to each other as part of our wedding ceremony while incorporating with it the traditional 7 steps of marriage. And my husband, when he officiated his sister's wedding, read it for her. It means a lot to us. So I hope you enjoy. The Invitation by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own. If you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore be trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty, every day. And if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes! It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. So I love this poem because I think it really touches on so many different aspects of what coming home to ourself really looks like in a really profound way. She starts by saying, I don't really care what you do for a living. I want to know if you are aware of your dreams and if you desire to meet your heart's longing. Like, are you living for a deeper truth than just a paycheck? I know one of the things me and my friends talk a lot about is the weirdness that in America, we always ask right away, what do you do? And that's not something that people really ask in other parts of the world because there's other things more important. And I know that's a millennial trope to say, to not ask people what they do, but talk about what gives your life fulfillment. But there is a lot of truth in that. The next thing she talks about is not caring about age, but wondering if you would still be willing, regardless of your age, to look like a fool, to live for adventure, to go for your dreams, to go for love. I used to have a teacher in high school who was very much a mentor for me, and she used to say, I want to be innocent, wise, and 95. That growing old doesn't necessarily mean getting old. The next, she talks a little bit about astrology, not caring so much about that, but she wants to know if you've been opened by sorrow. Has betrayals made you a better person, or has it closed you down? And this is one of the big lessons that I really work on with my clients, is this idea of pain. It can be either a great teacher or a great inhibitor. You can use your pain to open you up, to crack you open, or you can use it to shut you down. Do you love and accept and feel gratitude for the pain in your life, or do you fear it? And she continues on to ask if you can sit with pain, your own or someone else's, without trying to hide it or fix it or fade it. Can you just be where you are and let that be enough? Can you listen to what it's trying to teach you? But in the same, she asks if you could be with joy. Can you dance with ecstasy without worrying about being realistic or being careful or being human, which I think is such a big thing, because especially as we get older, we tend to focus on what's acceptable or what's real. You know, when we're little kids, we're all wild artists and passionate singers and dancers and painters, and then we grow up and we stop doing those things. We become practical. She says, I don't care if what you're telling me is true. If you can lie to another to save yourself, to be true to yourself, if you can be faithless and be trustworthy. I think this is a really big one and a hard one. I've read that a lot of people, when they recite this, especially in marriage vows, want to change this line. But honestly, the first person you have to be true to is yourself. Honesty with yourself is called integrity. Because if you can't have integrity, if you can't be honest with yourself, you're never going to be open and fully honest with someone else. If you're lying to yourself in some way, you're going to lie with everybody. So we have to start with ourselves, even if that means hurting others. Longer discussion. Can you see beauty when it's not pretty? I think that's a great question, right? We, especially in the contemporary world, tend to think of beauty as looking a specific way, but physical beauty does not necessarily translate to meaning a real intrinsic beauty. I mean, I know I've gone on dates with some fantastically gorgeous people who energetically were not very nice. And vice versa, I've seen people who physically aren't that great to look at, but you get to know them and you're like, my God, you're stunning, you're gorgeous. I had a friend who is no longer, but was well over 300 pounds. She had bariatric surgery. But I remember telling her, oh my God, you're so beautiful and you're so lovable and so gorgeous. And I remember her saying to me that I was one of the only people that ever made her feel that way. But it's true. She is. She still is, even though she's half her former size. Can you live with failure, yours and mine, and still celebrate and still shout at the moon? Yes. We're so afraid of failure in America. We so, desire to always succeed. But part of the learning process is failure. Like, you cannot grow and learn without failing and without embracing failure, embracing the suck. Brene Brown says that to innovate, it's failure, iteration, failure, iteration, failure, iteration. That's how you create something new. We have to get past seeing that us failing does not mean we are a failure. It means we tried something and it didn't work. I mean, I have failed so many times, right? There's so many projects I've done that have quote unquote failed. But one of my big lessons has been learning that I'm not a failure. I'm somebody who's growing. She talks about, I don't care about how much money you have. I want to know if you'll get up and do the hard thing. I think enough said about that. I don't care to know how you got to be here. I want to know if you'll stand in the fire. Will you stick with me? I don't care where you came from. I don't care about your history. I mean, I want to know, but I don't care. Will you fight for me and with me? That's the interesting question. I don't care where you've studied. I want to know what sustains you when all else falls away. It's not about who you've known, or your name dropping, or where you went to school. It's what wisdom do you have? When things get harder, you're going to be able to rely on yourself. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. So many people don't want to be alone with themselves. So many of us keep ourselves distracted through video games and YouTube videos and Facebook and porn. And can you really just be alone with yourself? And that's one of the things we're working on in this YouTube channel. So, I mean, everything she brings up is topic for conversation that could be a video in and of itself, and probably will be at some point. But for today, I just wanted to share with you that poem by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. I hope it was meaningful to you because it means a lot to me. Have a wonderful week. Namaste.